Alright, video number 5. Well, I'm sitting right now at Biola University on top of the 5-story parking structure, enjoying the warm sunshine, and as I've been enjoying on the campus all day. And yeah, it's just really nice. It's been a while since I've been able to come on campus and just kind of chill. It's also really nice because, spring break just ended and there's not many people on campus still around and everything, and so it's really peaceful to do some reading and just studying and stuff like that on my own. And one of the funny things is I was camped out next to Eagle's Nest, a little restaurant here at Biola, and it was closed, even though like the sign basically didn't say anything about Sunday. It said that 14th it was going to be closed, and then it said that the 16th it'll be back to normal, but just didn't say anything about Sunday. So everyone's like, huh? And so a lot of people expect it to be open. And you get all these regulars keep walking up. It was so funny. Out of probably the 5 hours I sat there, I probably saw a good 20 or 30 people of the 60 people I saw maybe all walk up and just, they're having their conversation with the person they're with, or they're just walking up with all their stuff ready to camp out, and they walk up and you can just see the change in their faces as soon as they see, oh, the lights aren't on. You see that realization come into play for them. And sure enough, every single one of them, the sign was a little bit bent on the door, and every single one I just watched out of the corner of my eye, and each one would curl up the sign and look at it for a little bit, or point to their friend to it. And it would be funny to see different people's reactions to this expectation for their regular spot, or their regular routine, or to show a family member who's in town or something like that where they normally hang out. And it was funny to see how much, how widespread the reactions were. Most of which, their unfulfilled expectations resulted in disappointment, ranging from anything like, oh, just a slight little comment, and then they decide something else, or someone being completely bummed out. And it got me thinking about how simple little things that we expect each day, when unfulfilled, can really throw us off. Something like road rage is an example of that. All it takes is, for a lot of us, is you're just driving and someone just decides to cut you off, and instantly your attitude for the next couple hours is changed because this person cut you off and pissed you off because it wasn't part of your normal scheme of things. And that's so silly. I look at that. There's so many little things. Oh yeah, it threw me off too with the Eagle's Nest thing. That was one of the things why it was funny to watch all these other people get disappointed about it too, is that just minutes before I had done the same thing. And yeah, it's crazy how little things, if our cup of coffee in the morning, it's amazing how our cup of coffee, if it's not perfect, or if it's a little burnt or something, it can throw off literally your attitude for the entire day. Growing up in high school or something, if your mom asks you to do the dishes before you head out for school, oh man, that would get me. I would be so frustrated. I'd be like, why didn't you give me more notice? Why don't you just have these things planned out? Why didn't you ask me the night before? Because it would throw off my whole little schedule for the day, and my anticipation, my expectations for what my day was going to look like. And yeah, it was incredible to see. It's incredible watching it in other people and then realizing it in yourself. Man, that's probably the best way I learned things about myself, is seeing how silly other people look, reacting in certain ways and stuff, and then thinking for a second and being like, oh, I do that same thing. But yeah, so yeah, this expectations thing is pretty funny. It can come from an expectation for, like I said, like your good cup of coffee, to an expectation that God will provide an answer to our prayers, and it's so it's so foolish. My first one of these was about our sense of entitlement to different things, and that's usually the problem of that is usually at the core of a lot of our unfulfilled expectation. But yeah, it's interesting to see when we feel entitled to God giving us a response to our prayers. Just a simple request like, God, just help me get through today. I've got a bad attitude or something like that, and we just expect Him to. There's a degree. It's tough because there's a fine line there between a healthy type of expectation from God and the expectation that comes out of entitlement. There can be the expectation of God will always love you. His love for you will never waver and things like that. That is something we should expect. However, if we are reacting to that in the kind of way where we expect it in the sense of we deserve it or we've earned it to some degree, or we're doing our part, therefore this should happen. That's where I think the line is drawn, especially in our relationships with God, but with most everything else too. And then, same goes for, bigger things, like, when we pray for healing for a friend or something like that. And there's a degree to which we should expect that God is capable of doing it and that He promises that He will do those things. But to expect it as a result of our actions, or that we've done so and so, therefore God does this, to make Him part of a math equation, that just kills the whole relationship. It kills our sense of position in our relationship with Him. It builds up the value of what we do on a daily basis in comparison with what God does. That some action of ours could elicit a response necessary by Him. It's really interesting, and it really throws us off when in regards to our reverence towards God. And sorry, a little distracted. There's these people running around. I'm on the top level. There's these two girls just running around in circles, and every time they come nearby, it's slightly distracting just because they're loud. But anyways, I digress. And so when it comes to this sense of expectation, it's tough for me. It's really tough for me because I expect God to work miraculously in my life and to work through me despite my faults. But most of the time that transforms into me expecting it in the way that I envision it and don't leave it open to Him. And my smaller expectations will sometimes divert my attention from the bigger, more macrocosmic expectations that I should be having. That He knows what's best for me, and for me to focus on what I think is best for me or what might seem best for me in a smaller situation and miss what's best for me in the long run is huge. That'll instantly change my attitude towards I don't know, like right now, I've been dealing with some health stuff. I've got some really bad abdominal pain the last few days, and I'm stuck without insurance, so I can't really go to the doctor right now, and kind of in between the insurance processing and stuff is just silly things, but it's painful, and in the midst of that I'm trying to make these decisions, and it's amazing how much something as simple as a little bit of pain can throw off your whole day, because you expect for you to be normal when you wake up, or healthy when you wake up. Yeah. And how I think what's best for me is what's best for me in the short run. That I would feel better, so that I could focus more on the decisions that are important in my life that I'm supposed to be making right now. And but little do I know, God could be allowing this to happen to me so that I make the right decision, or don't make the wrong decision, or just rely on Him more in my decision. Who knows? It could be a combination of all three. I don't know at this point, but it's tough though, because as people, we're our vision is such an impairment for us because we rely on it so heavily. I've heard a lot from friends and people I knew who either had really, really near blindness or complete blindness, that God's speaking to them and God's using their life is in a sense easier to picture, because they don't get distracted by the what's right in front of them. The visual distractions aren't a problem in it. As people, I think more than sound, more than smell, more than taste, more than touch, any of them, the vision is something that we value very highly, and rely on. Like, a lot of our temptation, most of it, from my understanding, comes from an idea of vision. Whether it's making a false idol, we see that as a god, or we see that as how God is. We'll make Him into this idea that's much smaller than Himself, and so that's a vision problem. Lust is a vision problem. Usually hearing something isn't what's going to drive me to lust. It's going to be seeing something, whether it's lust for food or lust for women or anything like that, lust for money. When I see someone with a lot of money, or I see a nice sports car, that gets me a lot more than just hearing about someone with a lot of money. When you can actually either see the numbers, you can actually see the bills themselves, or a check, or something like that. It's like the saying goes, a picture's worth 1,000 words, because a picture is inherently more impacting toward a person than words on that we hear, or on a page, or anything like that. And we just, it's like our first sense that works, like truly works, outside of the womb. Everything else develops to some degree. Babies are more sensitive when we first come out of the womb. We're more sensitive in touch. Our tastes are all funky. A lot of the taste buds haven't fully developed yet. our hearing's really sensitive. We haven't grown accustomed to different sounds and stuff. But within like a week, there's almost, there's the eyes are the first thing to develop well. That you can truly trust in most every category. I mean, I'm not sure if your taste buds develop faster than your eyes fully develop, but even so, like, how much can you really trust on taste? I don't know this wall is hard, or I can't see that this wall is concrete in any way by licking it. And that's the only way taste works. But I can just see it, and I can see that it's like other things. And so that come back into expectations, just visuals. A visual expectation is such a big deal. Whether it's the media defining what people should look like, we've developed visual expectations for what deems someone as attractive or beautiful. And, I deem that for myself when I look at myself in the mirror. I can't help but evaluate and see whether I've lived up to the expectations that I have for myself or not for that day. Something from, a bad hair day to, a little bit of a breakout in acne or something, or facial hair not growing in the way I want it to, or something, or growing in too fast, or who knows. Silly things. But they get you because they stack up. And when, it's amazing how these little expectations can affect your attitude unknowingly. That's the dangerous part, is that a lot of the times we don't know that our attitude is being drastically affected. When we expect God to move out of a sense of deserving it, it makes his movement in our life much less impactful. We're much less grateful for it. It's just, expectations are funny though, because there's a degree to which you need to expect. I need to expect that this wall will hurt if I run into it. I need to expect that this chair will hold me up. Otherwise, I can never sit with my heart at rest that this chair will hold me up. Things like that. I need to expect to some degree that this food will sustain my body. But there's that line where if we expect it in the sense that we should have it, that's what I think can really mess us up. I've just been thinking about that a little bit today, and as I was thinking about it, I was reading about it in this manuscript that my mom sent me. She's editor-in-chief or editor-director or something like that at I don't know what the official name is, but basically editor-in-chief at a Christian book publisher. And so she sent me this manuscript, and this guy, he's just talking about expectations and how we're actually hurting ourselves more when we expect ourselves to be better in some sense. When we expect perfection out of ourselves, or instantaneous growth, or instantaneous learning or wisdom about any given subject, maybe a sin we're working through or something like that. And he was challenging his readers, like me, to consider the idea that maybe God doesn't expect that. He doesn't expect. He desires perfection. He desires obedience. But in that strong sense of the word expect, he doesn't expect it. Yeah, that's just, it's hard for me to swallow that God could be so forgiving of me in my sinful nature that he doesn't expect me to be perfect. Have you ever thought about that? Man, that's just so interesting. Because I expect so much out of myself. In silly little things. Whether, as sad as it is to say, how well I sing at church on Sunday or something like that, the days where you have your sore throat and you're just nervous to sing because you don't want to sound like crap. And I don't know if anyone can resonate with me on that, but that's something that completely throws off my whole time of worship too, because then I'm completely focused on myself and how I sound. I feel like worship is one of those moments where we can get really easily swayed from the ultimate purpose of it, in a corporate setting. And yeah, but it's also such a beautiful thing when we get it. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's just tough to keep that line of where I should be expecting. Because my natural inclination is to either expect too much or expect too little, and not to get that healthy balance. Well, I think that's about all I got today. Yeah, just that I should not be expecting perfection out of myself, but merely desiring it. And not merely in the sense of it being something inferior, but being something more appropriate to my understanding of myself, and that I will fail. And to understand that God doesn't expect me to be perfect. He's very knowledgeable, much more than I am, of how faulty I am. And is, as a result, does not expect anything I'm not capable of, but only desires it for me. And he really desires it for me, too. Because there's only so much I can really benefit him, which is really nothing. All I can do is bring him glory, glorify his name. And even so, my capacity to do that is so minute that most of the good that comes out of my life is probably doing more for me and the people around me than it ever could for God when it comes to the scale of how impressionistic or how weighty that is in their life or in my life. It's a humbling thought. Yeah, so I'm just dwelling on that. Challenge you guys to think about how expectations rule in your life, or how they affect your daily walks, or what's just challenge yourself to look humbly at your life and just kind of look at some of the expectations you have and how they've affected your day. Yeah, because I feel like the only healthy expectation we can really have is that God will always love us. So much so that he sent his son to die, and that if we accept him and follow after him, he will indeed give us eternal life, and we should expect that. Because God doesn't fail and God doesn't waver, which is so hard to picture for me, because all I can see is people and things that waver and are inconsistent. but the one significant thing I can't see is the one thing that doesn't waver, and the one thing that is always consistent. Yeah. Well, that's all I've got for today. Feel free to check out my blog. I've been throwing up little quotes and stuff like that, and been trying to keep it up to date a little more than I have in the past, and occasionally writing bigger posts and stuff like that. Similar to what I'm talking about on here, but usually in a little more depth, or a little more focused. So feel free to check that out. It's called thesilenceofglaucon.com. Glaucon, Glaucon. There should be a link right below this video. And thanks for watching. Please feel free to give me any feedback. I'd love it, because it shows me at least that at least someone's being able to see these things, and it makes me better as a person, and just better at doing this video log stuff. And which, although it's been a while, it's only been 5 videos, so it's not like I'm some expert at it yet. And so any advice you have, or any feedback, or any thoughts you have, that'd be greatly appreciated. So thanks again for watching. See ya next video.